People tell me all the time they want to make $1 million. It's like just this number that's out there because everyone wants to be a millionaire. I'm on a show called $1 Million Listing. Even my team members sit with me. How much do you want to make? I want to make $1 million next year. And I always say two things. One is, that's awesome. And two is, how are you ever going to do that? And they don't know. They don't know. They don't know. People want to make $1 bajillion. But if you don't have an understanding of how you're going to get there, other than maybe winning the lottery, then it's not really a goal. It's not really an income goal. So for example, when I first got into the business, I made just over $9,000. I actually have the 1099 here. It's right here. I made $9,188 to be exact when I lived on 31st Street. And I keep this because it reminds me of how tough that first year was and how I never want to go back there and how much I've learned, how far I've come. And what I've tried to do every year and what I do with my team and what we'll talk about right now is I've tried to double my income every year. It's now at a point where that becomes really, really hard. But at the beginning, my first year I made just over 9,000. Next year I wanted to make about 20. Next year I wanted to make about 40. Then 80, so on and so forth. And what ends up happening is I set incredibly realistic goals for myself, and then I backed into that number how much I needed to sell or rent in order to make that income goal actually happen. Because you can say to yourself all you want, I want to make $100,000 next year. I want to make $1 million. I want to make $10 million. But if you don't back into it to have a clear understanding of what's the work going to be every day that'll add up to some sort of sales goal for you every month, you'll never hit that goal. Maybe you'll get lucky, and that's awesome. Maybe you'll really do the work so well that you'll make even more. So what I like to do is I like to pick an income goal for the next year. And because we're all salespeople, because we all get a 1099, at least in the United States, you're only as good as what your income is. Because last year I sold $838 million worth of real estate. But if I didn't get paid on any of it, then who cares? It doesn't mean anything. You're only as good as your income in the sales profession. And that might sound rude, might sound mean, but it's exactly the truth. And you're not taking this course to have me lie to you, are you? So you're gonna pick an income goal, and then you're gonna back into it using standard commissions, standard splits with wherever it is you're hanging your license to figure out how much you need to sell in order to conservatively make the amount of money that you set for your income goal next year. And then anything else you sell above that, any other money you make above that goal, which is really your salary in your mind, that's how you have to think about it, is then your bonus. So for example, here's how the math works. Let's say you are new to the business and you want to make $50,000 in your first year. So how much do you need to sell in order to make that $50,000? Now listen, you can get one client who buys a big property, boom, you've made it, you've exceeded it, that's awesome. But we're thinking about this in terms of a goal so you can have structure going into the year in case you don't get that big client who comes through, right? That's what all this is about, so that we can set ourselves up for success and let all those bonus clients and all that other stuff that could happen because there's no ceiling to this business and that's why we're in it, it can happen. So for this example, you want to make $50,000 next year. The average commission where you are is 3% because the average commission where we are here is 6%. 50-50 with the buyer's broker and the seller's broker is 3%. And if your split with the house, so where you hang your license, is 50-50, and if it's bigger, use a bigger percentage. But for this example, we're going to say 50%. You're basically going to take 1.5% of every sale going forward next year. So how much do you need to sell in order to reach $50,000 in income? You take $50,000, which is your income goal, and you divide it by 0.015. Put that into your calculator. That number comes out to $3,333,000, give or take. That then divided by 12, okay, which is your monthly sales goal, is $277,000 and change. So now you know your goal is $50,000 in income next year. That means you have to sell about $3.3 million for the entirety of next year, which means you have to sell about $280,000 each month to hit that goal based on the commission splits that we worked on for this example. So now we're gonna do this with a real team member of mine who needs to set their annual goal the way I do with all of my team members every year. So let's sit down with him and see how this works in a real life scenario.